Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that if it means getting your ass beat on syndicated TV, it's probably better to just not take the gamble. Perry Saturn lighting up Mike Bell in May of 2001 was a really weird case of a work becoming a shoot. Bell didn't go into business for himself, he didn't intentionally try to embarrass or hurt his opponent. Nerves just led to one move going wrong, and Saturn seeing red.
You don't want to make Perry Saturn, oh man! Oh, right on his noggin!
But you'd think based on how wildly Saturn went off the deep end over an accident that nobody would dare try the guy on purpose, right? Have you seen this channel? Meet Brian Gamble. Not to be confused with the QAnon Red Pill Roadshow guy, this Brian Gamble is a martial artist and a former member of Roller Jam. Gamble got a professional wrestling tryout on December 17, 2001 when WWE hit his hometown against another aspiring talent, Shawn Hill. Both of them did an adequate job. I mean, the moves were crisp, but they didn't really tell a story as much as they just got their shit in, so to speak. Anyway, both he and Hill would end up performing double duty that day, with Shawn Hill taking on Sho Funaki, and Gamble making the biggest mistake of his entire career. You know, besides Roller Jam. So in a typical match like this, the more experienced veteran is the one who leads, the one who calls the moves and dictates the pace. Nobody told Gamble. The two locked up, and before Saturn could lay out a sequence, Gamble promptly arm dragged him to the mat. Now remember, it would be an unexpected arm drag by Mike Bell that set Saturn off only 6 months ago. Saturn immediately declares, "Are you trying to shoot on me?" and slaps the taste out of the rookie's mouth. Gamble responded with a shove to Saturn, and the match devolved quickly. Saturn tried again to take charge, only for Gamble to comedically no-sell Saturn's strikes, just like Jake Roberts no-sold for Muhammad Ali. Now when Roberts did it, he explained that he still had to perform for fans afterwards, but Ali would be long gone. Gamble, on the other hand, is the one without a contract tomorrow. Gamble lands some great-looking kicks, and they should look good because he's actually kicking Saturn. Perry responds as you think a military man-turned-shoot fighter would, taking Gamble down with a beauty of a tackle and some potatoes. Knowing that if the Mike Bell incident were to repeat, he could also find himself without a job, Saturn tries again to get this train back on its tracks, only for Gamble to keep ignoring spots and trying to get his own offense in until Saturn officially lost his cool.
From the steal.
The only steal.
Oh my goodness!
It would be a spinning kick to Saturn's gut that Perry decided he's done with what was supposed to be an enhancement match and places Gamble in what the announcers would call a new version of his Rings of Saturn finish, pulling at Gamble's rotator cuff until the kid legitimately tapped out. With no Terry Runnels around to keep Saturn in check, it's safe to say this man was extra careful to keep things professional while the cameras were rolling. Thanks to an episode of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, we would learn that more would take place backstage after the match.
Vince was said to be furious. Gerald Briscoe asked Gamble what happened, and Gamble said he had family and all his friends there and he couldn't get beat. Saturn made mention of the match with Mike Bell and told him that he's lucky that happened first. Gamble then responded that Saturn was the one who was lucky because he would have sent him to the emergency room, and then Earl Hebner finally got Gamble thrown out of the building.
Newsflash, we're an entertainment company. Bummer. And don't you think that would have been something that he should have brought up long before he got out into the ring?
I think so.
Now Saturn was 100% right in his statement that Brian Gamble is lucky that Mike Bell incident happened first. As others have stated, Bell got the beating that Brian Gamble deserved. This kid, on his first tryout with the company, goes into business for himself, refuses to work with the veteran, no-sells the offense of the guy he's supposed to be enhancing, insists he needs to win the televised match against the guy who's actually going to be on TV next week, and in the end believes his own hype enough to threaten the veteran in front of executives backstage. Dumb. And Brian Gamble, not unlike Mike Blackwell in the NWA, would be burned when it comes to WWE events. He would get another shot with TNA Wrestling in 2003, where he would do his job properly. He was even welcomed back for more matches in 2004, but he would never get another shot at the big time. Saturn would only perform for the WWE for a few more months on the syndicated shows before an ACL injury and an eventual release. As mentioned in the Mike Bell episode, in 2004, Saturn would stumble upon and save a woman who was being raped in public. Fighting off the attackers, Saturn received 2 bullets for his efforts, one to the shoulder and one to the back of his neck.
It wasn't that I was no-selling the bullets, I just didn't even know. I'm sure if I would have thought he was shooting me, I would have probably been freaking out, you know.
These would cause enough long-term pain and suffering to Saturn that he'd resort to crystal meth, and the drug addiction would cost him his home.
I got clean for a little while, and I got an apartment, and since I've got an apartment now, things are going well. I started doing drugs again, and I was back on the streets for another 6 months, and then I can't do that anymore.
Though Saturn would clean up and even resurface in wrestling and on Twitter, his current whereabouts are unknown. There you have it, Perry Saturn and the Brian Gamble incident. A big nail in Saturn's WWE coffin, and it's a damn shame because this man was serious about doing a good job. Just like Malenko, just like Guerrero, just like Benoit. But rather than see the same success that they would, he'd find himself on the outside looking in. Now I want to ask you, what do you think about this whole mess? What could Saturn have possibly done differently to save this match and his job? Do you think this match played as much of a role on his release as his injury did, since he was never used on Raw or SmackDown again? And what about Brian Gamble? If he wasn't so absorbed in his own hype, do you think this kid could have had any success in the WWE? Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so I want to thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time.